Welcome to a Purple Chips tutorial. I'm John Schwinghamer, the author of Purple Chips, published by Wiley and available everywhere. Please pause your video to read our disclaimer. Today we're going to talk about the difference between the top 25 Purple Chips and all the other Purple Chips. The main thing to observe is that the top 25 Purple Chips have the smoothest earnings per share curves and the least number of negative quarters. So, in other words, no surprises. Because they have a history of only a few negative quarters, they are the most predictable in terms of valuation. What we're going to do is compare Oracle versus Microsoft and Johnson & Johnson versus Novartis. So let's move on to those stocks, and we're going to look at the charts here. Now, what we see here, we're looking at the long-term chart of Oracle Corporation, and you can actually see that the earnings progression has been very, very smooth over the years, and there have not been too many negative quarters in this in the earnings chart here. You can see a bit of a flattening in earnings back in the 2000 period. That was just after the tech meltdown. But essentially, the earnings progression has been very steady for the last 7 years and more, and it's certainly very reliable, an indication of the quality of this stock. Now let's compare that to Microsoft. I'm just going to change the chart here, just a minute. So symbol for Microsoft is MSFT. And you can see that we've had a little bit bumpier progression in earnings with Microsoft. And this is the key, and this is what makes the difference between the top 25 and all other Purple Chips. So you had a flat period in earnings here. You had a flat period in earnings here. And of course, you had a bit of a downward period here. And very recently, another downward period. So this is an indication Microsoft is a good stock. It's got a beautiful earnings progression, but certainly not the same quality as Oracle. So that puts Oracle over Microsoft in my books, and certainly Oracle is a top 25 Purple Chip. Now let's talk about another comparison. We're going to talk about Johnson & Johnson versus Novartis. And this one will become very clear in a second. So let's start with Johnson & Johnson, symbol JNJ. And you can see this has an outstanding earnings progression. So if you look at this one, the earnings, the white line here shows you the earnings over the years. And there's another something that I'd like to point out here is the progression in dividends over the years. And you can see that the dividends have consistently been rising over the years, and along with the earnings progression. When you put these two things together, this makes for a very powerful stock. So Johnson & Johnson had very few negative quarters, just a small little dip here, but otherwise we're going back 20 years and we've had consistent growth in earnings. So this is a very, very high quality stock. Now let's compare that to Novartis, and you'll see in a second that we're talking about two very different animals, and hence the distinction in quality. Novartis has had fairly bumpy earnings, definitely in the right trend, so it qualifies as a Purple Chip. Also, the dividend's been rising over the years, which is good. But you've got Novartis earnings going up overall, but you've had these bumpy periods. So you've had periods where the earnings have come off, and that increases the surprise factor, and this is what can lead to corrections in the stock. We want to avoid those things because the top 25 Purple Chips have the best earnings curves and therefore the least amount of surprises. So that's what you look for. That's how we distinguish between the top 25 and all other Purple Chips. So the Purple Chip stocks are great stocks, but the top 25 are absolutely the best out of all the stock universe. And so that's it. That concludes today's tutorial on the difference between the top 25 and the others. I'm John Schwinghamer, the author of Purple Chips, and thank you for watching.